Important factor, and given that there is a mandate, there is a compliance as well, which is augmenting the need to make this change. There is a lot of work that can be done in this space, and that's a how part of it which will become later. But I think ESG definitely is not an acronym anymore. It is a transformation. It is a cultural shift which needs to happen. And with that, I will just flip it back to you.
Thank you very much. That was indeed very insightful. Now I'll request my colleague Vivek to share his introduction and brief thoughts how ESG is becoming a business imperative in changing times, changing technologies. Over to you.
Thank you, sir. Before I give my introduction, I just want to know what is the time allotted to me so that I can plan. 3 to 5, okay. So, myself Vivek Agrawal, I am Chief Operating Officer Godawari Power Ispat Limited, basically MBA HR and Metallurgical Engineer. I had been in 22 years in Generale and Power Limited. I'll just divide these 5 minutes into 2 parts. First 2 minutes I'll just speak about the first session and what all had happened, because that will set a platform, and 3 minutes how it is important for the companies. First thing I will tell कि I have attended so many conferences, बहुत सारी conferences attend किया हूँ. Abroad also मैंने paper present किए हैं. But the way they start, myself, good afternoon, I am going to present the paper on iron making. बट यहाँ जो पहली चीज़ मैं बताऊँगा, जो ये प्लेटफॉर्म सेट किया है हिंदी प्लस इंग्लिश, आई मीन इंग्लिश में जो है ये हमारा छत्तीसगढ़ का एक्चुअली बोलना चाहिए देश की भी भाषा है, और छत्तीसगढ़ का भी एक अपना लैंग्वेज है. तो और दूसरा भी जैसे सुनील रामदास जी ने बोले 2 चीज़ें, काइंडनेस और लास्ट तक बैठना है. तो एक प्लेटफॉर्म सेट कर दिया है. और रुसेन जी के बारे में थोड़ा बोलना चाहूँगा कि हम लोगों ने जिंदल में एक साथ वर्क किया है टुगेदर सिंस 2009. उसके बाद इन्होंने भी छोड़ दिया और मैं भी आई ऑल्सो लेफ्ट GSPL. तो रुसेन जी ने जो प्लेटफॉर्म यहाँ प्रोवाइड किया है स्टार्टिंग शास्त्रीय संगीत, ये अपने आप में कहीं ना कहीं सोशल, जो ESG का एक पिलर सोशल है उसको एड्रेस करता है. पहले वाला जो सेशन हुआ उसमें सब लोगों ने जो एक्सपीरियंस अपना अपना शेयर किया, तो इफ वी सी तो उसमें कहीं ना कहीं ES या G को कहीं ना कहीं किसी तरह से एड्रेस किया गया था. अब मेरा जो टॉपिक है दैट इज बिजनेस इंपरेटिव, मतलब हाउ इट इज इम्पोर्टेंट फॉर द बिजनेस. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल बहुत सारी चीज़ें हुए, कभी लीडरशिप डाला, कभी बिजनेस इंपरेटिव डाला. हुसैन जी को पता था कि इनको कोई भी टॉपिक पर हम देंगे, ही विल बी एबल टू स्पीक ऑन दैट टॉपिक. सो थैंक यू हुसैन जी. नाउ देखिए ESG जैसे आदमी के लाइफ में होता है ECG इलेक्ट्रोकार्डियोग्राम, तो दैट इज इम्पोर्टेंट फॉर मैन. सिमिलरली ESG एनवायरनमेंट सोशल गवर्नेंस इज इम्पोर्टेंट फॉर बिजनेस. ये बोथ आर ओके, ECG एंड ESG. तो जो बिजनेस है, जो मैनेजमेंट का जो ऑपरेशन है बहुत स्मूथ चलता है. दैट्स फर्स्ट थिंग. सेकेंड क्या है, ESG कोई ऐसा चीज नहीं है कि विच इज नॉट नोन टू अस. वी ऑल आर डूइंग, वी आर टेकिंग एनवायरनमेंट सोशल एंड गवर्नेंस. अभी 2023-24 के लिए जो टॉप 1000 कंपनीज हैं एज पर मार्केट कैपिटलाइजेशन, फॉर दैट इट हैज बिकम मैंडेटरी टू इम्प्लीमेंट ESG. नाउ व्हाई इट इज मैंडेटरी एंड उसका क्या बेनिफिट होगा. तो सबसे पहली चीज है कि गवर्नमेंट वांट्स कि सो फार वी यूज्ड टू गिव BRR, बिजनेस रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी रिपोर्ट. नाउ गवर्नमेंट हैड मैंडेटरी कि यू हैव टू गिव बिजनेस रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी एंड सस्टेनेबिलिटी रिपोर्ट. How you are going to sustain, what is your commitment level, that is very very important. So we have to be very very committed on environment front, social front and governance front. These are the 3 pillars. If we talk about the environment and if we correlate with that COP26 जो भी मोदी जी का जो कमिटमेंट था कि by 2070 we have to become net zero, तो both are synchronized. by 2070 अगर हमको net zero होना है तो ESG एक बहुत बड़ा स्टैंडर्ड है, कमिटमेंट है, विच विल हेल्प इन अचीविंग नेट जीरो बाई 2070. सो व्हाट वी हैव टू डू इन एनवायरनमेंट में सिंपल है कि जैसा फर्स्ट सेशन में बोला गया, वी हैव टू एड्रेस कि हमारी जो कंजप्शंस हैं, वेदर इट इज एनर्जी, greenhouse gases, CO2 emission, water consumption, एयर पोल्यूशन, वेस्ट जनरेशन, इन सबको हमको टारगेट करना है, हाउ वी कैन एड्रेस दिस ई एंड बिकम मोर एफिशिएंट, दैट्स अबाउट ई. देन एज सोशल, जो भी हमारे एम्प्लॉयज हैं, जो भी हमारे स्टेक होल्डर हैं, विलेजर्स हैं, सप्लायर्स हैं, कस्टमर्स हैं, उनसे हमारा क्या कमिटमेंट है, वी हैव टू टेक केयर दैट एज ऑल्सो. एंड देन जी गवर्नेंस. तो जैसे भी बताया सुनील जी ने कि हमको ये पता होना चाहिए क्या करना है. तो गवर्नेंस में अगेन कमिंग टू कि जो भी हमारे वर्कर्स हैं, उनका जो एक फेयर वेजेज है, उनका जो कंपनसेशन है, इवन बोर्ड ऑफ डायरेक्टर्स का कंपनसेशन है, सीनियर एग्जीक्यूटिव का कंपनसेशन है, तो ये सारी चीज़ें गवर्नमेंट की जितनी भी हमारी कमिटमेंट है, मोर देन दैट वी हैव टू डू. सो these are the three pillars. Now how it is going to benefit? Suppose you see a company is ESG compliant. Now I was just analyzing the companies like Nestle, SKF India, Macrotech Developer, even Godawari Power Ispat Limited. We started ESG implementation 2 years back. तो हम अभी आज के डेट में ESG implemented company हैं. Now you see there are two benefits. One is आप जो financial अर्न करते हैं, बॉटम लाइन, टॉप लाइन, अर्निंग पर शेयर, डेट फ्री एंड फ्यूचर प्रोजेक्शन. That is one part of looking into the company's growth potential. But second is how you are committed towards the future. What is your commitment level? What is your sustainability plan? So when you are having both things, then investor जो होता है, जो भी मार्केट में पैसा लगा रहे हैं, ऐसा चीज नहीं है कि पहली बार आया है, कि is already existing. But when people invest in the company, they see what is your ESG commitment, what is your ESG compliance. As a result, सबसे पहली चीज होती है कि investors become more attracted more to the company where ESG is implemented. और उनकी मार्केट कैपिटलाइजेशन बहुत तेजी से शूट करती है. आप इंडिया में if you want to analyze, you can just see the case of the Mahindra and Mahindra, ITC, Nestle, MRF, Godawari. You just analyze last 3 years trend. That's one thing. Second क्या है, you are able to retain the customer. कस्टमर को ये लगता है कि कंपनी ESG compliant है, और ESG में सप्लाई चेन मैनेजमेंट है, where you have to deal with the ESG compliant company, whether it is your supplier or whether it is your customer. So it becomes a complete chain. So slowly you are able to retain the customer. So that is the benefit to have ESG implemented company. Because in future it is going to be mandatory कि आप जिससे business कर रहे हैं, they should also be ESG compliant. That's the second thing. Third क्या है, your employee, they feel more confident because you are able to retain those people. You have certain fair wage policy. You do take care of those people. So they also feel pride that I am working in a company who is ESG compliant. So that also makes a lot of difference. Then your villagers, when you take care in one of the social pillar of those villagers, so they are a part of your company. They always feel maybe we are indirectly associated with this company. So these things makes a lot of importance, where we can say having ESG is always a proud to us. We have been able to increase our market capitalization from 2,000 crore to almost 7,500 crore as on date. अगर आप देखेंगे, तो इसमें क्या होता है कि when you have so much of commitment and you really do more than that, so it becomes very very important for any business from long-term sustainability point of view. And if you do not do and you do false commitment, maybe at some point of time NSC से some कुछ ऑडिटर आ गए, उन्होंने चेक किया और देखा कि आपका कमिटमेंट है बट यू आर नॉट डूइंग, देन यू मे बी ब्लैकलिस्टेड. सो बाय दिस गवर्नमेंट इज ट्राइंग टू मेक बिजनेस मोर फुल प्रूफ एंड कंपनी इज आल्सो थिंकिंग इन दैट वे. बट देयर इज अ कैच, ऑल दिस नीड्स मनी. इस सब के लिए पैसा चाहिए. अगर पैसा नहीं है तो आप ये कुछ नहीं कर पाएंगे. तो अल्टीमेट एम इज टू मेक द प्रॉफिट. So this is all about business imperative, and whatever exposure experience I have, because I have lead the ESG project at Godawari Power Ispat Limited. Today we are ESG compliant company, but ultimately if पैसा नहीं है तो कुछ नहीं कर सकते. तो प्रॉफिट तो करना पड़ेगा, because सब चीज पैसे से होती है, बिना पैसे के आप खर्चा नहीं कर सकते. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was very very insightful. Now we have with us Ashutosh Pandit ji, who is Managing Director of STEM Learning. Over to you, sir. With a brief introduction, you would like to share your views as to how ESG is becoming a business imperative in current times.
Good evening all. I'm not a good expert orator like extreme panel we have over here, but I'll just tell you the experience. In 2011, when I started the organization STEM Learning, it was a very unique idea because STEM तभी नाम ही नहीं था. Obama had just announced it in US, and that's why there was means everybody was the acronym STEM had come to India, and I can say that the journey which was just started, that there should be some scientific temper to be developed in the among the underserved students, and across there should be a bridge between the urban cities and the rural scenario. It took place, and now I can say that we are having more than 2,400 plus schools pan India. Now, why I am saying is, like, when we are saying the environment, I feel that being a person who is working on a scientific temper, the innovation should be a main part of the ESG. See, I'm also having hospitality. I'm also into hospitality industry. I'm having a resort, and that is right on the beach. So when we go on the beach, especially near Goa and all, we see a lot of plastic waste. Okay. So I started the idea of, I developed one incinerator. I developed it in our factory and I placed it. And I found that when we use that incinerator for burning the plastic in it, along with the and I use the activated carbon. Both were activated carbon is also available in India, and it is being used in US for reducing the air pollution. So what I feel that these small ideas, like if we have incinerator in outside villages, because आज हम क्या देखते हैं, जब भी हम छोटे गांव में जाते हैं तो मैक्सिमम प्लास्टिक वेस्ट दिखते हैं जो हम एंटर करते हैं. पहले कैसे रहता था, whenever you used to visit any small villages, you used to find that it used to be a very clean villages. But the most जो environment ज़्यादा दिखता है, environment में hazardous है, वो प्लास्टिक है. So if we have a small incinerators installed in the villages, I feel that small ideas, small innovations, if we develop this kind of community where everybody contributes with the theme that we should care for the environment. Second thing what I feel is like, they are saying from the corporate perspective. I am saying from the implementers perspective. Because when I started in 2013, it was just a CSR law had come and it was not a mandate. And I started the journey with the earlier 3 corporates supported us. Now the family, we are almost having 200 plus donors who are supporting us. We are having a presence in 26 states. So I feel that there should be like the community which is for the corporates, there should be a community for the implementers also. As the implementers, we should come together. We should work on the collaborative efforts, and we should say that the solution should be replicable. And so this, I always tell that with Abhishek that this incinerator, because why incinerator? Because in Singapore, if you see the Singapore, they collect all the waste. They have a massive incinerator with them. They burn all the plastic, everything, and they generate electricity out of it. And they have made a man-made island where they are dumping all this the waste or the ash which you get. They will dump it and they have made a man-made island. So but in India the thing is like we need to have the small solutions because we are the spread out country. Like Singapore, we are not one small island. So I feel that we should have small solutions and we should try to make it replicable. Also, I feel that since I am working with the school children, the social awareness should be also done. There should be a social awareness done at the school level, because if we create the habit at the school level, that will be in a long term the awareness for the environment will be there. So that's it. That was just the idea. Thank you.
Thank you very much for being so precise to the point and so insightful, right from India to Singapore, and how to imbibe the values in the young generation. In English we say catch them young. Thank you so much. We are blessed to have with us Abhishek Ranjan, Senior Director and Global Sustainability Head, Brillio, a Bain capital company, who is one of the most omnipresent personalities across all Indian events, be it pertaining to CSR, ESG and the like. So over to you. Please share your initial thoughts.
How many of you in the room have habit of sitting for 5-6 hours? I think now we don't have, right? In our offices we say 30 minutes, that's it. 30 minutes is the span time, the attention time we all have. So I just don't want to be a preachy here about ESG, everybody spoke about it. First of all, how many of you have come first time to Raipur? Including me. Right, so just imagine that having an ESG conversation in a state where never India's such kind of event happened, right? That itself shows a magnitude of all of you came here. I think, Singh ji, if you are around here, the 70% of the crowd is outside and first time to Raipur. So I think the big tourism event which Hussein has organized apart from the ESG, right? So I hope you get some time off tomorrow and see the Raipur. I'm not from Raipur, I'm also coming first time, but just a small bit, right? See, I think many of us have a career of last 2 decades. And if you remember a decade back, what was the significance of quality, right? Everybody used to talk about Six Sigma, CIMP, Six Sigma belt, and so many things. Today, the quality is a table stake, right? Everybody knows what's the quality standards, etc. ESG is the cusp of that journey, what quality was at one point of time. If you want to relate to something. LinkedIn has said that the top 15 jobs in India, not in India, actually in the world, ESG is one of them, right? So everybody in the room aspiring to be an ESG professional, it's a golden opportunity. If you look at how the world is converging, right? I think my co-panelists talked about a lot of things about what is ESG is about. So ESG is about how do you run a company. CSR is about how do you run and then take 2% and then you spend to the CSR, right? ESG is like how do you do the entire, governance and running of the company, not just taking a 2% out and spending. That's a basic premise difference between a CSR and ESG. I'll finish with the small thing, right? I think ESG principle, I really admire the way India has progressed on so many fronts, right? The green cover, the solar. How many of you in this room know that India has a presidentship of the World Solar Alliance, right? And we had I think if you watch some of the interviews of our foreign ministers and all, you will see how much competition was there from China, France, and then we become the president of the World Solar Alliance. It's not a small feat, right? India has done one of the wonders in terms of the green cover, taking people out of the poverty. It's not a one-person job. It's not a Prime Minister Modi's job alone. I think everybody in this room has contributed for the development of this country, right? And not only this people, hundreds of people out here. Now, ESG principle, if you go back to Mahatma Gandhi, and I always see that I think if the world needs one preacher, one guidance, don't go to any freak man, whatever you call them, go to Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi said a very beautiful quote, and what he said that the world has enough for everybody's need, but not for the greed, right? And the second thing he said to the businessmen of those days that you are not a chairman and the owner of the whatever the wealth you create. You are a trustee. You are just a trustee of what you have. See, we have a life, right? Maybe some of us will live for 100 years. That's it. I will take that wealth with you. No. You're just trustee. You are a trusteeship of that period. So if all of us believe in this, and whatever great things we all do, and my company also does, we have operations in more than 10 countries, and we do sustainability, but small bit. I think some of you noticed that I put the water bottle down. Because if you put this photograph on Instagram or Twitter and LinkedIn, there will be people commenting that you're talking about ESG and drinking water from plastic bottles. Those small changes we have to make. Everybody has to do. And be the person let anybody criticize you. Have the guts, have the power to say it out, right? Notice such small things, right? So I give an example. I mean, Ashutosh talked about the plastic and the household waste. During COVID, we all had these plastic bottles in our office, and because of the, health issues and, making sure that everybody's health is taken care, we also allowed plastic bottles. And that became a habit. But when the COVID subsided, everybody expected, okay, chalo, fir se plastic bottles se keep it. So one day I talked to my admin team that, why do we need to do plastic bottle? COVID is over. No, but sea level लोग को कैसे देंगे, CEO को कैसे देंगे, directors को कैसे देंगे? So I went to the CEO's room and said, is it okay that you can drink water from the glass bottle? And he said, yeah. And that moment the entire company became a plastic free. So the leadership has a power. People who are in the leadership position can influence. ESG leaders are not about calculating numbers, but influencing in the company. Your leadership, show the demonstration. Your board, you are the eyes and ears of your board or the leadership, and they will listen to you if you have that enough wisdom. And I tell you, for that time we stop this, right? So it's very important to be vocal about such things, talk about things, and wherever you find small thing which is not aligning to ESG, start doing it, right? And then you see the wonders will happen. But if you just talk and then somebody else will do, never will happen. So I think if you stick to the one principle with Mahatma Gandhi said about trusteeship, I think we will solve all the problems, and India will do much better in ESG than any country in the world. And I'm so happy that our leadership, the political leadership, the business leadership is very committed about it, and we will probably achieve much before 2070. That's my goal.
Thank you very, very much. I think that was very, very, well-driven and acceptable thoughts. Well, it's important for us to understand, yes, ESG is becoming globally in vogue, and the word which talks about being imperative, let us understand why it's being imperative. One of the government mandates says recently that now the top 1,000 companies, on the basis of their market valuation, they are required to undergo comply or explain. Comply or explain. That's how it starts with. If we remember about CSR, when it started, it was voluntary disclosure. And it has now reached, if you don't do it, you'll be behind the bars. So that is how it becomes a business imperative. Now that the government has said that, well, you better comply with this or give us in writing why you could not or why you did not. So my sincere thanks to all the eminent panelists who very well explained their views, thoughts and ideas. Yes, it's going to be a business imperative. Another couple of statistics I would like to talk, and I have one very senior HR professional with me, and we'll start the next discussion from there. There has been an increase in HR jobs pertaining to ESG. As per a report by Indeed, which is one of the largest HR portals of the world, there's been 223% increase in the jobs related to ESG ever since 2019. All of you do agree with me, is the rise phenomenal, yes or no? Yes. Absolutely. So now we will take the discussion forward. Well, this increase in the quantum, 223%, and then there are many issues pertaining to HR related to diversity, inclusion and allied dimensions. So I would now request Garima Madam to share her thoughts as to what are the challenges in front of the organizations pertaining to ESG compliance, hiring more and more HR people who understand ESG better, compliance dimensions better, and to make sure the relative compliances to the government in form of reporting. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. I will start with my own experience. So I work with a French retail bank, which is Societe Generale, and we are 130,000 employees across the globe, 60 countries, and in India we are 11,000 plus people. I'm not giving you these statistics to impress you with my organization, but the statistics are important because it gives you the idea of the scale that we are working on. And if organizations like these, they really take even a small step, it can really go very far in creating the change, because they are not just creating the change within the organization, but those 11,000, 1,30,000 employees are also taking that change back home. And I think that's the kind of shift that we are trying to do. He mentioned about specifically the role and the creation of jobs. Of course, there is a 23% increase. COVID did hamper it a little bit. It reduced by 22% only in India. Singapore and other Asian countries have also seen this growth of jobs in ESG by 149 and 139% respectively. And that's a very, very good thing. But another thing which is also happening is volunteering. And there is a huge focus on that. If you take my organization, we are in sustainable finance in France. And of course, the enterprise business also focuses a lot of that. But the main focus that we have from an employee perspective is how do we mobilize volunteering and change in the mindset of our people. A few things that we've done, very, very simple and basic. And Abhishek mentioned about changing this from the top. That's one of the very important things. You take anybody in Societe Generale today, right from CEO to the entire CXO team, carry their own water bottles to office. We don't have even a single mug a paper cup or a plastic, anything of that sort in the organization. I joined it 9 months back, and believe me, the first day when I joined, they had informed me that when you're coming to the office first day, please, either bring a mug for yourself or we can provide you one, but we don't encourage plastics. Tough day for me because I was not used to it. But yes, I think that's a small change. Even the mugs and everything are ceramic, and people have their own individual ones, which is a very basic thing. Going back to the people-related aspects, and I did touch upon volunteering. Volunteering is a very, very important aspect. Today, we do not have a dedicated function head for ESG. I am so glad to share with you that all the business leaders that we have, they are the champions of ESG in the organization, of sustainability in the organization. I started my diversity and equity career almost 10 years back. And of course, DEI is a very important part of ESG. You would not believe, but when I started my career and I was with Verizon earlier, people used to ask me, do you get paid for doing this job? Are you really kidding us? And I would say, yes, I'm getting paid. And that is the kind of focus that people used to have. But in today's ESG terms, I think the way the transformation is also happening is that not one dedicated role perhaps is just taking care of it, but each one, especially the business leaders in the organizations, are stepping up to be the change agents. And in our organization, of course, HR folks, people like us and the other leaders in the organization, we are trying to be the change agents ourselves. So it's a virtuous cycle, I must say. So one volunteer leads to another and so many more. The another thing that I just want to call out is that challenges is what I was supposed to touch on. Of course, first challenge that comes is the mindset, right? And I think we all struggle with it. Any change, nobody accepts it just like that. And that's same for, you talk about ESG, you talk about societal issues or challenges. Lot of things happen from the leadership level. But I can tell you, the organizations that we have seen, and if you really want to bring the mindset change, it has to happen across the levels at the same time. What I as Garima Tyagi can do as an individual in the organization, I got to stand for myself and what I can do in my own capacity. It further moves up to the level of I being a people manager, I being responsible for say 50 odd people, how do I role play, how do I walk the talk? And how do I influence positively people around me? And that's a challenge which is still there because not everyone across levels are understanding their role. So it's very important. Challenges are humongous, but mindset change is a very critical one, and I think if we are able to crack it right at the leadership level, calling out those influences, the priority for this change And that's, I think, very important. And then across levels, the responsibility and communication about what each one of us can do in our own capacities is going to really help in addition. I took a little more time, but I think I just wanted to give a few practical examples.
Oh, that's absolutely perfect. What a marvelous explanation of the business best practices. Give a big round of applause to Madam Garima. And when we're talking about ESG, let us understand, sometimes on many of the indices, we fall behind many of the developed and developing economies. But on one frontier, we have 63% market share. If we go back to the annals of history and we take the data of 2021, India has 63% market share amongst the world's most polluted cities. 63%. Low, very, very high. Audience is with me? Yes. Pretty high, that's it. So I think when we are having 63 cities out of 100 most polluted cities of the world, it's our imperative to focus on environment. And let me share with you one business practice which we started at Chandragupt Institute of Management, Patna, before I request my fellow panelists. Initially, we used to give bouquets of flowers. From there, we moved to offering small pots with small plants. And I remember one of my previous speakers who said, "Kyun to hatya ho jati hai chote." Now we have started giving big plants which are very good to survive, and particularly plants bearing fruits. So that is a one cultural transition we have done, and it has started making a small difference. And that goes with the story of that gallery, which says, लोग कह रहे हैं कि जब जंगल में आग लगी थी तो तुम पानी क्यों डाल रहे थे? तो the intent was to say कि जब आग बुझाने वालों का इतिहास लिखा जाएगा तो मेरा नाम आग बुझाने वालों की contributors में होगा, and not just being the moot spectator. So all of us, it's time for us to start contributing to the mission which Mayank Gandhiji was talking about. Even if we plant one tree on our birthdays, I'm sure it's going to make a difference to our life. So with these words, we have with us CEO of Ispat, and we would like to know from him what his company is doing towards improving the environmental dimensions so that we can minimize the number of cities from 63 to as little as possible. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Rana. This is one of the very important pillar of ESG environment. Now, coming to what we are doing, first of all, if you see, we got our Honorable Prime Minister Modi ji had already commitment to become net zero by 2070. That's number one. Today, we are emitting around 2.65 ton CO2 per ton of steel, and that is around 12% of CO2 production, total CO2 generation, as compared to national norm of 7%. At the same time, our energy consumption is also around 2.8 as compared to 1.9. So we are quite higher side. Now, if we see this total steel production in India, only 15% is being produced by government sector like Bhilai Steel Plant, Bokaro, Durgapur, Rashtriya Ispat Limited, and 85% production comes from the private sector. That's number one. अगर आज 120 मिलियन टन स्टील बन रही है, तो उसमें करीब 100 मिलियन टन प्राइवेट सेक्टर बनाता है. उसमें से आधी स्टील सेकेंडरी स्टील वाले बनाते हैं, जो कि रायपुर, यू आर सिटिंग इन द हब ऑफ स्टील. पूरे देश का स्टील जो रूल होता है वो रायपुर से होता है. It is steel capital, it is rice capital, it is coal city, it is political city of छत्तीसगढ़. तो ये जो 50 मिलियन टन बन रहा है सेकेंडरी स्टील से, अब पॉइंट ये है कि मोदी जी ने तो कमिटमेंट कर दिया. नेचुरली मोदी जी ने किसके बेस पर कर दिया? हम लोगों के बेस पर कर दिया. तो हमारे को अभी व्हाट वी आर डूइंग एंड व्हाट वी हैव टू डू, देयर आर टू थिंग्स. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, ग्रीन स्टील बनाने के लिए यू हैव टू मेक ग्रीन पावर, and then you have to have a route for green steel making. Green power में देखिए recently हमारा commitment है कि by 2040 we are going to be green power company. Recently we have started 70 megawatt solar plant in Ranjangaon and 30 megawatt solar plant in Benetra in last couple of months. So almost 100 megawatt power capacity we have put through solar megawatt. That's one thing. सो वी आर टारगेटिंग टू स्टॉप फॉसिल फ्यूल। हमारा टारगेट है कि कोयला जला के बिल्कुल भी 1 यूनिट भी बिजली का पैदा नहीं करना। तो दैट इज अबाउट द ग्रीन पावर। नाउ दिस इज सर वंस वी आर गेटिंग पावर थ्रू ग्रीन पावर, सेकंड इज ग्रीन स्टील। अब ग्रीन स्टील में देखिए क्या है, इफ यू हैव देयर 2 चैलेंजेस। एक तो मोदी जी बोलते हैं कि 2050 तक हिंदुस्तान को 500 मिलियन टन स्टील बनाना है, विच इज नाउ 120 मिलियन टन, तो यहाँ से 4 गुना होना है। एट द सेम टाइम जो CO2 एमिशन है, इट हैज टू मेक नेट जीरो। तो ये जो चैलेंज है, इसका एक ही सोल्यूशन है कि आप जो स्टील बनाएं सीधा स्क्रैप को लाइए, उसको मेल्ट कीजिए और ग्रीन पावर को यूज कीजिए, यू विल फॉल इन द ग्रीन स्टील कैटेगरी। अब पॉइंट ये है कि उतना स्क्रैप आएगा कहाँ से? या तो ये हो कि रोज जैसे यूक्रेन और रशिया भिड़ रहे हैं, ईरान का लोग झगड़ा करते रहे और खूब स्क्रैप आ जाए, तो दैट इज वन थिंग व्हिच वी डू नॉट वांट। तो फिर उस केस में क्या है कि आपके पास सेकंड ऑप्शन है कि जो आयरन मेकिंग का रूट है, इट हैज टू बी थ्रू नेचुरल गैस और सिन गैस। उसके लिए डेफिनेटली यहाँ पर मेरा पॉइंट है विच इज वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट कि गवर्नमेंट का फोकस गेल और ONGC को गैस पाइपलाइन को जल्दी से एक्सप्लॉइट करके नेचुरल गैस अवेलेबल कराना चाहिए, जिससे जो आयरन मेकिंग का रूट है वो नेचुरल गैस को लेके और रिफॉर्मर के थ्रू CO and H2 बना के डायरेक्ट आयरन मेकिंग में जाएं एंड देन मेक स्टील थ्रू दैट रूट। हम लोग जो अभी अपना एक्सपेंशन में जा रहे हैं, हमारा टारगेट भी यही है कि आगे जो भी रूट आएगा इट शुड नॉट बी CO2 इंटेंसिव और एटलीस्ट ये है कि वट एवर CO2 इज बीइंग जनरेटेड स्लोली उसको रिड्यूस करना है और फाइनली वट एवर इज द कमिटमेंट फ्रॉम द टॉप पर्सन ऑफ द कंट्री, उस कमिटमेंट में सबसे बड़ा चैलेंज है प्राइवेट सेक्टर के सामने। अब पॉइंट ये है कि वो होने के रीजन क्या है। सबसे बड़ा है रीजन, देखिए पहला जो रीजन है वो है आपका रॉ मटेरियल। रॉ मटेरियल जो यूज हो रहा है आज भी, लोग जो आयरन ओर यूज करते हैं, आई थिंक पीपल हैव टू शिफ्ट टू पैलेट। जितना आयरन ओर यूज करेंगे अगर आप आयरन ओर रूट से जाते हैं तो आपको 1 टन स्टील बनाने के लिए करीब 2 टन आयरन ओर लग जाता है, मोटा मोटी कंसिडरिंग ऑल लॉसेस वगैरह। उसी को अगर आप पहले रूट से बनाएंगे तो आपका 1.4 लगेगा। तो पहला बात तो ये है कि आपने जो कंजप्शन कम कर दी। देखिए रिडक्शन इज ऑल्सो ए कंजर्वेशन, रिडक्शन इज ऑल्सो है इन ए वे CO2 रिडक्शन। आपने स्पेसिफिक कंजप्शन कम की, पावर कंजप्शन कम की, तो वो भी एक तरह से देखा जाएगा ग्रीन स्टील बनाने की डायरेक्शन में एक इनिशिएटिव है और उसमें जो एनवायरनमेंट है ESG का जो पहला पिलर है वो एड्रेस होता है। तो दैट इज फर्स्ट थिंग कि उसमें आपको पहला है रॉ मटेरियल करना है, देन है सेकंड टेक्नोलॉजी। नाउ टेक्नोलॉजी इंडिया में आएगी, अभी स्वीडन ने ट्रायल किया है, टाटा स्टील हैज आल्सो ट्राइड और GSW ने कमिटमेंट किया है कि बाय 2030 वी विल आल्सो एड्रेस एनवायरनमेंट इशू। हम राजस्थान में 1000 टन डेली का हाइड्रोजन जनरेट करके पाइपलाइन 1600 किलोमीटर की पाइपलाइन के थ्रू डॉल्बी लेकर जाएंगे। नाउ सच टाइप ऑफ कमिटमेंट्स आर देयर, बट वंस ये टेक्नोलॉजी आएंगी तो डेफिनेटली हम लोग भी कॉपी करेंगे। बट पॉइंट ये है कि इस सब के लिए क्या चाहिए, इस सब के लिए चाहिए पैसा, प्रॉफिट। बिकॉज वट एवर वी कमिट अल्टीमेटली प्राइवेट सेक्टर कौन देने वाला है? गवर्नमेंट के लिए तो ठीक है, भिलाई स्टील प्लांट के लिए, बोकारो के लिए, दुर्गापुर गवर्नमेंट का सपोर्ट है, बट प्राइवेट के साथ कौन है? कोई भी नहीं है। उनको तो डेली कमाना है और जो इतनी स्ट्रेंथ काम कर रही है, जैसे हमारी स्ट्रेंथ आज में 10,000 एम्प्लॉइज है, तो ओनर्स आर ऑलवेज हैविंग फियर कि भाई मैं 10,000 लोगों का पेट कैसे पालूंगा। तो पॉइंट ये है कि जब तक प्रॉफिट नहीं होगा, कमाई नहीं होगी, इन्वेस्टमेंट नहीं होगा। और प्रॉफिट के लिए बहुत सारी पॉलिसीज हैं जो स्टेट और सेंटर में अटकी रहती हैं। पॉलिटिकली जो वोट बैंक को बांटने के लिए पैसा दिया जाता है, लेकिन इंडस्ट्री की उतना सपोर्ट नहीं हो रही। अगर पैसा आएगा तो सबसे पहले प्राइवेट सेक्टर होगा आगे आके इन्वेस्ट करने के लिए, क्योंकि उसको पता है उसका सर्वाइवल उसी में है। कल सेल के रिजल्ट आए थे, 85% प्रॉफिट गिर गया, तो मैं सोचा मोदी सही बोलते हैं, डूइंग बिजनेस इज नॉट अवर बिजनेस। तो पॉइंट ये है कि ये सब करने के लिए वी आर थिंकिंग, वी आर डूइंग एंड वी आर टेकिंग इनिशिएटिव एंड हीरा ग्रुप इज द आई कैन से कि लीडर इन एंटायर। आपने देखा होगा इतने सारे बोर्ड वगैरह भी देखे होंगे छत्तीसगढ़ में और रायपुर में, जो कि दे डू मोर देन द कमिटमेंट। वो ये नहीं सोचते कि हमारे को कोई लीगल और स्टैट्यूटरी रिक्वायरमेंट है, उनका थॉट प्रोसेस ही नहीं है। दे ऑलवेज थिंक कि हमारी फ्यूचर जनरेशन, क्योंकि दे हैव ए वेरी लार्ज फैमिली, उसको एड्रेस करने के लिए फ्यूचर में, बिकॉज बच्चे हैं वो तो जॉब करेंगे नहीं, उनके लिए क्या क्या बिजनेस सेट करना है। तो प्राइवेट सेक्टर आई डू नॉट थिंक मेड JSW, JSPL और गोदावरी और शारदा और इवन निको कि दे गो भाई गवर्नमेंट क्या बोल रही है। बट पॉइंट ये है कि भाई प्रॉफिट तो आना चाहिए, कमाई तो होनी चाहिए, और कमाई भी इतनी जो इन्वेस्ट कर सकें। अब वो 10,000 करोड़ JSW इन्वेस्ट कर सकता है, हमारे जैसे ग्रुप तो सोचना पड़ेगा, नहीं कर सकते। पता चला वो बॉटम लाइन ही नेगेटिव हो गई और सबको घर बैठा दिया। तो पॉइंट ये, मोदी जी ने भी 20 साल ज़्यादा दिए हैं। यूरोप ने 2050 बोला है, चाइना 2060 बोला है, और मोदी जी 2070 बोल रहे हैं, मतलब 2 जनरेशन फ्रॉम ईयर। तो 2 जनरेशन बाद हम तो नहीं रहेंगे, मोस्ट ऑफ द पीपल हु आर सिटिंग हियर दे मे नॉट बी एबल टू विटनेस, बट जो फ्यूचर जनरेशन आएगी वो पक्का गाली देगी, इस हालत तुम लोग कमिट करके चले गए, क्या कुछ नहीं है, हमको भुगतना पड़ रहा है। तो ये वो चीज़ ध्यान रखेगी। तो इसलिए जो कमिटमेंट है उसके लिए गवर्नमेंट का भी बहुत ज़्यादा एक सपोर्ट चाहिए, एंड ऑर्गेनाइजेशन लाइक अस, दे आर वेरी ओपन, दे आर वेरी बोल्ड टू डू, एंड दे आर ऑलरेडी डूइंग। दैट्स वाई ये जो छत्तीसगढ़ जो MP से सेपरेट हुआ, इट यूज्ड टू बी द मोस्ट पुअरेस्ट एंड बैकवर्ड एरिया, लेकिन आज की डेट में देखिए कि इट इज द फास्टेस्ट डेवलपिंग सिटी एंड स्टेट ऑफ द नेशन। आज यहाँ का पर कैपिटा इनकम देख लीजिए, स्टील कंजम्पशन देख लीजिए, और जो पूरा स्टील को रूल करता है वो रायपुर करता है, छत्तीसगढ़ करता है। तो वी आर कमिटेड एंड वी आर डूइंग एंड वी आर ऑन ट्रैक। बट ये है कि लेट अस सी, कमिटमेंट इज वन थिंग बिकॉज वी आर ऑलरेडी टेकिंग इनिशिएटिव, बट लेट अस सी कि हाउ फार वी शुड बी एबल टू डू। Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That's a marvelous commitment of this wonderful organization which is representing, and I'm sure.
I sorry, I forget and I took one more minute. We have started the first company in Chhattisgarh. हम लोगों ने अपनी कंपनी खोली है गोदावरी ई-मोबिलिटी, जहां हम लोग पूरे ई-व्हीकल बना रहे हैं। और आप देख सकते हैं, tomorrow you get the time, please go to न्यू रायपुर, इट्स ए मार्वलस सिटी। आपका मन करेगा कि मैं रायपुर में आऊं यार, यही जगह ले लेता हूं, यहीं बस जाता हूं, तो वहां हमारा प्लांट है गोदावरी ई-मोबिलिटी। सॉरी।
Thank you very much, and we have seen a lot under the dynamic leadership of Bajrang Lal Agarwal. This company is doing wonders, doing some of the best practices of this industry. Now we'll come to Abhishek ji to understand what are the best practices which his organization is adopting in the domain of environment, and some of his recommendations, what should be the need of the hour and the business imperative of ESG compliance, because we all know that from 24-25, government has made it a mandate that all the corporate entities, at least the top 1,000, they're going to either comply or explain from 24-25. So over to you.
COVID hit us, right? And we had 85% carbon reduction for our company that year, right? So everybody was working from home. Now, what's happening now is that 2-3 things, which is I'm observing. Of course, we are a carbon neutral company already. We are net zero by 2035, much ahead of the most of the countries or the companies have already committed. So I won't get detail about what we do. But what I really want to share a few things which I observe, what's happening globally, right? When I talk to my peers across the world. The first thing is that who is going to pay for ESG? Who is going to pay for ESG? He was talking about his industry problem, others will talk. Who is going to pay for ESG? No answers? Huh? End users, customers. So all of us, if we do not plan this well, end of the day we are going to tax the customer, right? The second is that if we do not do it, the same fate what CSR has had in India, India will also have a carbon tax. Like the way water tax, land tax, I think the only thing which will remain is carbon and the air. And if we combine both, that's the only thing left for taxing. So this is a situation we have been already in, right? Already globally, most of the industries have set their benchmark in terms of how much carbon emissions you can make. How much is oil industry can do, how much is steel industry can do. And if you exceed that benchmark, you will have to pay extra tax to the government. It is already working in place, some countries have already implemented. So that's a risk. Some of you already know, I think your company will already started. There's something called internal carbon pricing. So we have started preparing our organization to have an internal carbon pricing, so that if tomorrow there's a carbon tax, there is. So talking ESG also is, you have to understand that there's a huge cost attached to it. But why environment is so much, we have to talk about, right? I think this India CSR conference has been always about CSR, but why ESG suddenly? See, the first thing is that why we talk about environment, because environment is the most essential part for our sustenance. if the world global temperature rise more than 1.5 degrees Celsius further, we will not be in a situation to probably live and work and thrive. That's what every single person, every single organization is striving to do that, to contain that. And that's how this whole SBTI, the Science Based Target Initiative, and the goals have been set up, right? Now, unless we have a measurable goals, that how do we reduce over the period? Because no company can do in 1 year, 2 year, 3 year. Because, as I said, ESG also needs, look at that, there are not too many ESG professionals. People who are working in ESG space, you will realize that the consultants are charging like 3x of the price of pre-COVID. Everything is costly. Go for the carbon offsetting, you search for carbon investment project, everything is now highly priced. And what will the company will do finally? Will transfer it to the end customer. So I think this need a very concentrated view. The other aspect I also want to share with you is that development versus ESG. I won't name companies and all because I'm in an industry where we work with hundreds of customers. But, two of the states in US, these are the loggerheads with one of the largest private equity fund. And why is that? Because the state machineries, the state governors are saying that we can compromise ESG for development. But this private equity is saying that we will not compromise ESG for development. So I leave this here, how do you balance development, ESG? Because for developing countries, we need development. India is an aspirational country. Look at the car booking cycle, right? India, most of the cars has a 6 to 9 month or further waiting. So I think how do you, relate to the aspirational India? If you look at the carbon emission of individuals who are middle class rich or the rich class, it's actually equivalent to the carbon emissions of any developed country. But what about the rest of the India? Their aspiration, right? Don't they deserve to have a life? So I think the biggest debate is going to happen around development and balancing with the ESG. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's really well said. And I have seen there's a beautiful line in English which says, looking London, talking Tokyo. So this is time for us to look at India and act at India with all these major dimensions of environment, social dimensions, as well as the governance aspects. I think now I'll come back to Ashutosh Pandit ji to understand what are his views as managing director, how in changing times, what is his thought process and aspirations pertaining to ESG. Over to you.
Thank you. See people, as an implementing partner, there are many times demands come from the corporates. Corporates बोलते हैं कि हम लोग को science on wheel चाहिए, ठीक है? Because I am into science, there were many times requirement came to me that I want to science on wheel. मैंने बोला I will never do science on wheel. Because according to me, it will never be a sustainable project. Because till the time someone supports it for the petrol, for the operators, then only it will be a success. कि हम हमारा एक implementing teacher या partner school में रखते हैं. I as an implementing partner said no, because I said that no, I'll do the capacity building of the existing teacher. वो अगर छोड़ के गए तो मैं और एक टीचर को ट्रेन करूँगा. Because why I'm saying it is like that as an implementing partner we also need to take few responsibilities. Now coming to just an idea, this was the science center what you see. Okay, I'll just give a 2 minutes idea that how this idea came to me. So I had established 36 big science centers in Maharashtra in 2013. And I have observed that when students go to any science center, for example, there is a science center in Mumbai. So if student goes to any science center, वो एक picnic के mindset से जाता है. He always go as a picnic mindset. So I thought of that, why not make science center go to the school? And that's why we developed these small teaching aids. And according to me, the best practice of using the teaching aids is that when you are covering the subject in the classroom, ठीक है? It is not that you're taking the students to the classroom. And I'm happy to say that there are corporates with whom we are working from 2015, Lupin, who has supported us in Bharatpur in 2015. Still there are mini science centers which are operational over there. And even the donor is not supporting us. Still, as a social, why I'm happy and proud to say that I'm a real social entrepreneur, because even though if the corporate doesn't support, I see to it that at least once in a year my team visits those schools. And to say that how I can contribute to the ESG. Okay, the thing is like I'm having a presence in more than 225 districts pan India. I'm having presence in with more than I'm working with 200 corporates. And every year this idea came to us in 2019. We started national STEM program. देखिए प्राइवेट स्कूल्स के लिए बहुत सारे कंपनीज करते हैं, लेकिन गवर्नमेंट स्कूल्स और गवर्नमेंट स्टूडेंट्स के लिए कोई करता नहीं है. And I am happy to say that I am only working with the government students and the government schools. And in 2018 we discussed that NSP we started national STEM program. And national STEM program we do it at a cluster level across India, wherever our schools are there. जहाँ पे 10 से 15 schools है वहाँ we do a cluster level, then we do a zonal level, and we take them to the national level. This year the national level program is going to happen in Pune, and for the next year, even I have not discussed with Abhishek ji, but I am saying that we will keep a theme of a ESG for the environment, because I feel that the innovation or the best ideas come from the kids. And also I will say that I have created one website, Just Learning. मेरे वो Just Learning website पे मैंने more than 700 science fair videos collect किए. What I did, there are science fair happenings in district. हर district में district level science fair होता है. वो कहाँ पे भी document होता नहीं है. It never gets document. कहाँ पे कोई newspaper में एक article आ जाता है कि science fair होके गया. I documented more than 600 videos and I put it on the YouTube. And I said that okay, that let there be a peer-to-peer knowledge exchange. Let there be a. So I'll say that with Abhishek ji that this next year's theme we'll do it only on the environment. We'll get the ideas from the students, because I feel that they are the best innovator. They are the best. वो कुछ सोचते नहीं है. वो अपने direct दिल से सोचते हैं. So I thought that we'll get the ideas, and I feel that I'm sure that there will be best solutions coming from the students. Incinerator तो मेरा आइडिया था, बाकी और बच्चे और कुछ अच्छे आइडिया दे सकते हैं. So I'm sure in the next time we will have more ideas with us. And second thing, I see, since I'm working in government students and I came from the rural background, I came from a small town near Goa. I'll say that गांव के बच्चे ठीक है are more जुगाड़ू than the urban students, because they know how to repair their own way, small things. They know how to use the ply and all. And urban they just say, "Mommy, please call urban crab." Okay? So I am happy that as an implementer, we'll work and we'll try to get. Next time we'll have more solutions that will come from the students. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you very much, and it's indeed a great initiative by STEM Learning to take the labs to the classroom for the students. And we all know that SEBI has put in place the regulatory framework for value chain ESG disclosures for the listed entities. And we all know that one of the key performance indicators in the times to come is going to be to what extent the companies have created jobs for people in small towns. That's one. And second, what has been the total gross wages paid to the women, especially in these smaller towns. So this is going to increase the HR related challenges in the times to come. And we'll take this last question from our HR expert in this domain. Over to you, ma'am.
Well, thank you. I can go on and on, but yeah, I think 2-3 points that I'm going to touch upon from a talent and an HR perspective. One very important one is the point that Dr. Rana just mentioned, which is specifically on how do you create employability in the tier 2 cities, in the tier 3 cities, and it's called impact sourcing. So today there's a huge work that is happening on impact sourcing, where rather than bringing the tier 2, tier 3 cities, candidates to to the metropolitans, there are organizations who are focusing on creating employability back in tier 2 and tier 3 colleges, because they very strongly believe, and I think that's a very much fact, that the entire ecosystem gets shattered when the young people or the youth from the tier 2, tier 3 cities leave their abodes and they come to and settle in the metropolitans. So there's an impact sourcing, which is a very important thing. Corporates have started working on it now, and that's, I'm sure, very much going to pick up pace. The second thing that I need to definitely call on, given that I work in the space of DEI, the gender pay parity gap. That's a huge one which is glaring at us. Okay, and Google started it, I think 4 or 5 years back. It was a furore at that point in time when Google started it, and they said, you know what, we've done the analysis, we did, a lot of work in analyzing how men get paid and women get paid, and there is a huge gap between the two. Now that became one thing, so many, and of course, one good practice, one leader in the organization create a virtuous cycle, as I was mentioning, and that's what happened. So many progressive organizations, they came forward and they started analyzing the gender pay parity gap within their organizations. In our organization as well, we do it, right? And you would be really, really amazed to know that out of the, say, top 25, top 20 roles that we have analyzed, I think at the corporate level, ITs level, majority of the roles have men, obviously, who get paid, more than the women in the roles, which are the top most roles in the organization. And that's something which needs lot of money. Abhishek was talking about it. I think all of us were talking about, you can do XYZ things, but where is the money, honey? That's the question. And I think every organization who is focused on equity practices, who is really, really focused on making things fair and square for everyone, needs to carve out that sort of duty, that sort of budget to create, this balance in the system. Otherwise, these inequities which are existing can just manifold, multifold, and it would really be very challenging for us. I just want to just close it a little off the track, but Abhishek was mentioning about that 1.5%, 1.5 degree as the target that everyone has. It should not go beyond. Within our organization, we have reduced we have focused on energy conservation, and our air conditioners in all India offices are set at 2 degrees higher as compared to what it was earlier. This is to ensure that we conserve more energy, and we've been able to save 8 to 12% because of this change. So it's not at a global level, it's not a 1.5 degree, but in our own capacity, in whatever way we could, we have increased the temperatures in our organization by 2%. And people initially were uncomfortable about it because it's like, it's middle of the June and people are like, what the hell is happening around? Why are we sweating today? But I think everyone has accepted with a lot of grace, and we feel really proud to make that small change, but considerable change in our own organization. And I just thought I'd share that too.
Thank you very much. That's really a great inspiration to all of us using air conditioners. Big round of applause for her. And we'll have last to wrap up 1 minute each from our fellow panelists. Over to you, sir. Concluding remarks.
Yeah, I'll take 45 seconds. I'll say only 2 points. Number one, when any new standard comes, there are challenges and painful situations are there. We have to look into opportunities, not to the challenges. Because if you do not do, we will be simply outdated, and we will no more in the race of the export of this total this steel market. Because as we have listened, the government is going to put carbon tax. That's one thing. Second, we have borrowed nature from our future generations, so we have to take care of our future generations. If we do not take care of future generations, then you can imagine what is going to happen with those coming generations. That's all. Thank you very much.
So I think 2 points I think we missed in this whole conversation. I think obviously there's a limited time. One is your sustainable supply chain. The two other very, very strong pillars of ESG which is going to drive the sustainable supply chain and the human rights. I think the world is moving from minimum wages to fair wages. Very soon, I think there's already, ILO is setting up a lot of conversations around it. It's already started in India. So you'll see that every industry, or maybe I don't know how it will work in India, but I think industry will have a fair wages kind of a concept for minimum wages. It's already started in many of the countries. The second very important thing which I am seeing in human rights happening is the whole caregiving economy. I think we are not measuring at this time in the caregivers. That's another big discussion with ILO happening at the world level, and the recent G20 which I was speaking, this was another big topic came to. So watch out for two strong areas in ESG, human rights and sustainable supply chain and the value chain. That's going to be my 2 cents.
Thank you very much. I take this opportunity to extend my heartfelt thanks and sincere gratitude to all the panelists here. And for all of you being a wonderful audience, I think we can have a bigger applause for all the people on the dais. We have opportunity to take one question. Anybody from the audience, please. You can direct it to any one of us.
Ideas or pointers how to get the supply chain in order with respect to ESG.
I know Microsoft how hand-holded their supply chain, like us, we are part of the Microsoft value chain. So I think, yes, you can start with compliance policies, but it's also important that how do you handhold them? Because all of a sudden, MSMEs cannot be immediate. Because I just said ESG is a cost. Whatever you say, it's a cost. So if you are demanding your suppliers, which is largely MSMEs, where the cost? Are you willing to put the cost? Are you willing to give them some tool? Are you willing to give them some advice or consulting? That's very important. So I think it's a journey. The bigger companies take the journey further. We will be slowly moving towards that. But the biggest thing which we are missing here, ESG will drive a transformational change in the MSME sector. Because end of the day, MSME sectors are the part of the supply chain of the large companies. And to be a part of a value sustainable chain, they also need to be doing. I think this will drive the biggest change in the country.
Yeah, because they form the largest component of scope 3 for all of us.
Yes, over to you.
Yeah.
No, I think of course he's much more knowledgeable in this space, but I'll just tell you a very small example. It's a demand and supply situation, right? Why are we talking about ESG? Because the investors, the customers, the youth of the country today and the stakeholders are asking those questions. Tell us what are you doing, right? So what we are also trying to do with the vendors, of course one part is what Abhishek mentioned, but as the internal customers as well, when I am having a sourcing request getting out for a particular requirement, we ask these questions to our sourcing team today. Is the customer diverse? I mean, is the vendor partner diverse? Is woman entrepreneur? Is a person with disability? Are they having ESG as their key components of what they ask for? So it's one is how the external environment and the ecosystem is driving this. But I think as important is that how we as internal customers are also driving this imperative. That also makes a lot of difference. So just wanted to.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Let me place on record my deep sense of thanks and gratitude. This has been one of the most passionate and committed set of panelists here, and you have been one of the most wonderful audience. Big round of applause for all of you.
Thank you, Dr. Rana.
पंडित जी बहुत अच्छा काम कर रहे हैं, इनके लिए ताली से बजाता है।
And I'm delighted to share that this room has been the Bodhi tree for Husain Ji, the first international conference he attended in November 2004. which gave him a source of inspiration, let me do many more. So this hall of Babylon International is the Bodhi tree poem.